So we just did this activity where we identified people who we admire, and then I listed 3 qualities about them. And one of the things that Olivia, who is my co-presider, said earlier was she noticed that there were no women on her list. She had all women on her list. And I said that when I did my list for the first time, that I had no white people on my list. And so I had this question of, well, what does that mean about me? What's going on? And I realized that my other identities have been a struggle for me. My white identity itself, I'm half Jewish, half black, and a lesbian. And so I struggled with my identity for obvious reasons. And I would say sometime around 18, through a variety of things, and I would say New Thought principles, this idea that I came to the world to shine, that my not being able to fit into a box is exactly what I was meant to be. I would not be born with these identities if this is not the life I was meant to lead. And so I made this decision to really lean into who I was. And up until 18, I'd gone through what any kid of any identity goes through. It's not fitting in. We all know what it's like not to fit in, right? I don't care what identity you have going on. We know what it's like not to fit in. And the reality of it is we're not really meant to fit in. What we're meant to do is shine. And even though we have like fun signs all over the place, like I bought this shirt at Aeropostale, like it was from a regular place, but we're not really taught to love who we are. We're taught to buy this makeup to be prettier. I made a conscious decision not to put makeup on this morning because we're talking about authenticity today. I'm somebody, I wear dresses sometimes only for the context of a wedding, or I'm speaking as a minister. Other than that, I'm not doing it. And that's new for me. This is like the 35-year-old version of me that started wearing dresses for the first time. But what that was me deciding that there was another part of my identity I wanted to express. I decided dresses weren't for me for the vast majority of my life. And at one point, I decided I'm going to lean into this a little bit. People expect me to look a certain way when I'm a minister, and I'm just going to make them happy and be cute and wear a dress. You guys didn't get that luxury of me being cute and wearing a dress today. I'm cute in other ways, right? So what I realized is that when I made this decision to really embrace who I was, people still continued not to like me. I continued not to fit in. That doesn't really change. But what happens is that people who like me, like really like me, because they feel like they know me. They don't get a surface version of myself. It's not some people talk about like when you go on your first date and you give the version that you feel like you should be giving. This is the expression. These are my best qualities right here, and you'll find about these other ones further down the line. I try to express myself authentically at all times, and it turns people off. My best friend Tia is here, and I had the privilege of offending some people at her engagement party because I show up as my authentic self and people get engaged. And Tia said to her friends, that's just Karen. Like, that's what it is. And people have to make excuses, like, this is just Karen. And at some point, for very much of my life, I was trying not to have people give a disclaimer or an explanation of, this is just Karen. But I realized that I just couldn't. Like, I was offending everyone anyway, so I might as well be myself and be sorry if I offend anyone, because it's not what I intend, but it's just how it goes. So I had a hard time really embracing all of these things about myself, but the moment that I became a minister, it was interesting because as I was studying, the reason I studied New Thought to begin with is I was struggling a lot with finding success in the TV industry. I say worked in quotes because I was mostly not working. I was mostly looking for work, hustling, trying to get someone to give me a job to get to where I've been trying to go, working for free. So I was working, I shouldn't say that. I did a lot of unpaid internships to get to where I am today. But I went through this process. I went through leaning into how do I direct cause to create the life I've always wanted to live, because clearly this life I'm living right now is not for me. And so I studied so hard until I became a minister. The intention was not actually to be up here talking. In fact, I wouldn't say I'm not into this. I do love what I'm doing right now, but I didn't sit in these seats and say, I want to do what that person's doing. That was never me. But what happened was, once I chose to live authentically, people said, tell us about your experience. How do I get the success that I'm looking for in the television industry? How do I walk through life from a place of lightness and joy? How do I do these things? So I said, okay, I'll stand up and tell you about it. But I never made an intention of, I want to be a minister, and this is the point of all of this. But as I was doing that, I was working full-time in TV, I was able to apply New Thought principles. I was able to direct cause to experience the life that I wanted to live. So I was working at CAA, this huge talent agency. Nobody there is like me, and although no one anywhere is like me. And one of the things they do, like they have these events, and you'll do a sort of go around the room icebreaker thing of say something that people don't know about you. And my easy thing to say is that I'm a New Thought minister. And it's kind of like, what is that? So not only am I half black, half Jewish lesbian, but I'm also a New Thought minister, a religion no one has ever heard of. To make this even more complicated than it already is. And as I leaned into that, what happened is people listened to me. So there are people from CAA in this room because I walked around living my authentic truth, even though I didn't ever expect that to happen. I didn't go into CAA and say, hey, you guys, come hear me talk. I did though, since I sent them an email. But at the time, I didn't say that there. That was not my intention there. But what I'm saying is that when I decided to live authentically, other people said, how do I do that? And so not only did it inspire me to be authentic more often, but I'm inspiring other people to be authentic more often, which is exactly what's happening right now. So this is really important to me, specifically because there are things happening in the world that I don't like. And for me, the best way to change the world is to be the change I wish to see. And that's something that sounds really great, but in reality, it's not easy. I've been working at being the change I wish to see in the world for a long time, and it is not easy, I tell you this. Because being the change we wish to see is we want to see more peace, right? Generally, I don't care what you believe, peace is something that we usually want to see. Love, acceptance, tolerance, which I'm not a big fan of that word, but it's at least, if acceptance is not something you can do, tolerance is something you can do at least. If somebody is living a lifestyle that you don't approve of, the least you can do is stay out of their business, right? That's what it is there's no reason for whatever life that you live, unless you're hurting someone else in the process, it's not anyone else's business. So the least we can do is tolerate each other. And when something comes up like the issue with separating families happens in the world, I ask myself, what can I do? As an American, when I'm seeing families being separated at the border, what do I want to do about it? What can I do about it? What I can do, me specifically, is I work in television. So one of the things that I do at my job is identify ways in story, to use story, to find writers and content that helps propel the message that I want to see. And so I read things and develop TV shows around the kind of stories that I think would inspire the world. That's what I do professionally. What I do sort of extracurricularly is this. I go out in the world and I say, how do we look at an issue like what's happening at our borders and come from a place of love? And the way that I do that is by saying tolerance, love, peace. It applies in all areas, and even in areas that we don't like. When I'm looking at what's happening, I'm seeing the conversation being people who are against what we're doing and people who are saying it's not so bad and talking about other things. And I'm definitely in a space of these are children. We need to do what's best for the children. But I can say we need to do what's best for the children while at the same time not alienating people who feel otherwise. And that's the hardest part that we've got going on in the country right now is how do we share and express our truths without alienating people who feel differently than we do. And that's what being the change we wish to see in the world is about, is making that decision to decide not only to live authentically, to give other people the space and opportunity to experience your light and shine their light because you just showed them what it meant to shine your light. But at the same time, being an expression of somebody who's not alienating other people, who isn't participating in Facebook fights, who is creating a space for conversation that when people who feel differently than you do feel like they can come and talk to you for insight because they trust you and they trust that you're not going to demean them, that you're not going to call them any names, that we can engage in conscious discussion around the things that we disagree with, because it's never good for any of us to live in any sort of totalitarian society. For one group of people to say, we know what's right. And even though things like love, tolerance, and acceptance feel like the things that are right, there are people who think otherwise. And so the reality, what tolerance means, is that I support people who think otherwise, no matter how hard it is. Ernest Holmes, who I mentioned earlier from The Science of Mind, said, show me someone who is for something and against nothing, and I will show you the next exalted one. Back in the day, I used to wear these WWJD bracelets, What Would Jesus Do bracelets, that were just a reminder, it was a question. And when I say back in the day, this was like in high school, and I was not doing what Jesus would do in the vast majority of circumstances in high school. But this bracelet would give me this reminder of, is this the decision I want to make? Do I really want to do this right now? And it really started the catalyst of me making decisions. And even though, like I said, half Jewish, half Christian, I didn't gravitate towards one being in particular. For me, it was about being the change I wish to see in the world. Who is an example? Who are the people that I admire that are being the change they wish to see in the world? And how do I be more like them? How do I choose to embrace those qualities within me that I see, but I've been diminishing because the world tells me it's not okay to show up this way, because I go to a party and make somebody mad? What I have to do is sort of let that ride, let it go. The only thing I can do is stand in truth and be myself in every moment. I can take on feedback, I can change, I can do this activity in one moment, take it 2 weeks later and have a totally different set of answers. That who I am in one moment is who I came to be. Who you are right now is exactly who you are supposed to be. And whatever happens from this experience is exactly what needs to happen. Something that we say in prayer at the beginning every time is, I know that this service unfolds absolutely perfectly, because it can't. There is no way that everything that happens here wasn't supposed to happen, or else it wouldn't have. So up until this point, your lives have done exactly what they were supposed to do. And right now, you have this choice to really break away and let go of the things that no longer serve you and step into your authentic self. So I want to invite you to step further into this and think about this idea as Matt starts this beautiful song that he wrote. I assume it's beautiful. I haven't heard it yet, but wow. It sounded really great. And I love that he wrote it. So take those ideas into you as you listen to the song.
Hi, everybody. My name's Matt. This is my first time here. Thank you. My friend Guy over here invited me to come share music with you today. And a lot of what's been said today actually really resonates with me and my path. Carl Jung, the psychologist, talks about we have a persona self and we have a shadow self. And he discusses a lot about how the persona self is the part of us that we like to think of ourselves as and that we like to present ourselves as. But the shadow self is the part of ourself that we don't necessarily present or want to face, but it's actually in the process of facing that shadow self that we can bring that into the light and become whole. So this is a song I wrote that's related to those topics, and it's called Lighthouse. Looking back at how I got here, there's no express train to getting through the fear. I gotta go straight in where you don't want to go, and face every demon or get lost below. Lighthouse, shine for me. Lighthouse, shine for me. You think the world's against you, you're a victim of its grip. But what you don't understand is you are its fingertip. You are the power, you are the ray, You are the sunshine in a dark, lonely place. Lighthouse, shine for me. Lighthouse, shine for me. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. It takes time to learn. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. It takes time to learn. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. It takes time to learn. Ooh, oh, oh, oh. Light the fire and let it burn.
That lighthouse is within each of you. That there is a power for good that is within you at all times. Whether you choose to pay attention to it or not, that power is expressing as you. And right now, we have the choice to shine. We can shine our light, express our authentic selves wherever we go. We have the choice to shine our light, giving other people the permission to do the same. Giving people an example of what light shining looks like. When we operate from a place of joy, from faith, from love, we create more joy, more faith, and more love within our lives. So I know that as we decide to do this, as we let the lighthouse within us shine, that we live in a greater place of vibrant energy, that the gifts explode into our lives, that we have greater relationships, greater joy, and a greater experience of life, because this is what we choose to do. And I'm so grateful for the fact that the universe corresponds to this word, to this choice, for us to express our lighthouse and let it shine. So I know that as our word is decided in the mind of God, as energy within each of us, that it is absolutely done, as together we all say, and so it is. Thanks, everyone.